What's going on, guys? It's David, Piatek, and Dwayne. I got a video for that. Kimball,
Hey, how you
welcome.
doing? Yeah. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. I'm excited for 2026. Today, we're going to just talk about updates, what's going on in the housing space, what's happening in the VA disability space. I think both sides are seeing a lot of changes already into 2026. And hopefully, it's not going to be like this every single day because it's kind of wild right now.
Yeah,
But we'll talk through it, ask questions. That's what we're here for, right? Housing questions,
yeah.
disability questions, because yeah, that's what we're here for. How you doing,
Uh,
Dwayne?
Hey, I can't complain. We had a little bit of cool weather. It got down in the
You have cool
60s.
weather.
Yeah.
You. Okay. No, it's no big deal. It
So,
just snowed last night.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
ice outside, but that's fine.
yeah. But we got scorched earth here, firearms. He actually came on my live stream,
Uh,
um, New Year's Eve. I'm thinking he came on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, but I got to get up to Jacksonville, Florida, to do some firearms training with him. I still owe him a phone call. I did get the emails for the host. I just been swamped. We got this launching this university. You know how things get. You get busy, and like you were saying, you were out getting some tires, snow tires, or something. Just and then you got YouTube, right? I got to record a video. I got to record a video. So yeah, but yeah, we got in low 60s. Got a little chilly. Had to cut the AC off. Um, yeah, but it's back on.
it's so
and
so. I
then
feel
it
so bad for you, Dwayne.
and then it
So
warmed
Dwayne, so
up.
bad.
It was crazy because it was cooler in my house because the sun goes over east and west. And when I went outside, I'm like, man, I got to put some shorts on. Then the next day, today, I had some to go to VA. I had some long pants on. But yeah, other than that, man, I'm doing good. Going to do a vacation next month, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's give some updates to the people, and then start answering questions. Dwayne, from VA disability, what's something that's popping out right now? What's happening?
You know, there. I think we had talked about this once before. I did a, I did a video, no pun intended. I did a video about I think it was over 3 years ago, where they were talking about the proposed changes for tinnitus, sleep apnea, and the criteria for the mental conditions. David, I just got a feeling that, and I have no evidence to back this up. I haven't seen anything, but someone that I know that works at the VA brought it up to me. And I was like, about tinnitus. I think it's going to happen this year. I hope it doesn't. I just got a gut feeling. Um, and I'm constantly in the dash one looking at the updates and the emails that I get with the updates. And I tell people, I've been telling people ever since then, if you're trying to do a mental condition, if you're trying to get sleep apnea or tinnitus, you need to get that claim on the books right now. Because what happens is people say, well, what if they do this? Would this happen? You don't know. You're not going to have those instructions. No one is going to have those instructions until they do it. And what I've seen in the past as a VA rater, like we're talking now, January 2026, they can make a change and they can say effective December 1st, 2025. And then there are some instructions. If the vet did this, if the vet did that. So I just been telling people the last 2-3 years for that one thing. If you're trying to get one of those three or all three, you need to be pursuing that vigorously right now, not later.
Yeah, I'm not sure why people wait to file their VA disability stuff. It seems like every year it's not like things are getting better. Like they're adding on, like, oh, by the way, we've made this a lot easier for you guys to do it. No, it's always seems like it's like, oh, they're trying to take something away. And I know for tinnitus, it's the number one VA disability, the 10% rating.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest to get,
Right.
and it's one of the hardest to get. And you brought up something that making it easier. They are making the process. The process is easier
Okay.
than when I worked and started, years ago. Now, the employee's mindset. That's what makes it hard because not every VA employee follows the VA regulations.
That's
That's what
crazy.
makes it hard. The process and the way you submit claims and the information you can get off va.gov, that is easy. It's easier. Well, I say it's easier, but it's the mindset of certain VA employees that think that this is a welfare system for veterans. Like I was on a live. Well, I was on a live. I did a lot of lives over holidays, and then I jumped on another individual's lives. His channel was Rate HQ, and he was talking about this Lieutenant Colonel Dan or somebody that went
Uh-huh.
before the VA and was saying only people that should have PTSD are the ones that have been to combat. And I'm like, what about the military sexual trauma victims that maybe served under you and you swept it underneath the rug or whatever? So that mindset would makes it hard. But leading into that, VA home loans. Hey, I need to go buy that old house Tom Brady had over there on Harbor Island.
Yeah, how much is that going for?
Man, a few million.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this. One, remember, there's no limit on VA loans as long as you can afford it. So you want to
I
buy a
know,
$5
right?
million crib?
Yeah.
You're good. I don't know who's going to give you a loan for $5 million on a VA loan, but it's definitely possible. Yeah, there's been a lot of movement, I would say, in just in housing in general right now, right? Like right now, it's probably, you would think it'd be like the slowest time of the year. December, 60,000 veterans used the VA home loan. 60,000
In December?
December, right?
Oh, wow.
It is the most used VA loan month of the entire year, which I thought was blown away. Almost 400,000 veterans used the VA home loan in 2025. So that's kind of crazy when people are talking about doomsday, everything is going to be falling apart. Veterans are still capitalizing on the 100% financing. And then a lot of veterans also leveraging interest rate reduction refinance loans. So, there's opportunities there. And I'll tell you this, if you could look back at my videos, I talk about this all the time, that don't try to time the market. It's not going to happen, right? Or you may get lucky. You're like, hey, this is just what I do. But for the everyday person, not investors, right? You are buying something that you want to live in. And I'll tell you people this, Dwayne, is that historically values have gone up. If you think you can't afford it today, one, it's most likely your budget, because most people can, but you look at their budget and be like, stop, spending $30 going to Mickey
Yeah.
D's. Okay. Stop
Yeah.
that. So a lot of times they can afford it. They just choose not to. The same thing with savings, right? So you just have to be really careful going into that process and utilize that amazing VA home loan with no money down. Yeah, you still have closing costs, but right now is the time where a lot of sellers are offering credits. Florida's a good market. It's been going down a little bit, but again, a lot of opportunities for buyers to come in and purchase in that market. Another big update for 2026 is that VA home loan limits went up. Now, earlier I said there's no limit. Now I'm saying the limits went up. Why do I say that? Not me. It's the VA. They try not to make it confusing, but there's two sets of rules. No outstanding VA loan. Sky's the limit. Whatever you want to buy, as long as you're qualified and eligible, you can do it. But if you have a VA loan and you want to use the VA loan again, then there's a cap on how much you can borrow before you have to put a down payment, which went up to $832,750 for 2026, which is positive. And we're seeing a lot of people take advantage of that. That combined right now with the proposal for Fannie and Freddie to buy like $200 billion worth of bonds may drive interest rates lower. So that's positive. And I know I mentioned it before about the 50-year mortgage. It looks like they're scrapping that idea.
Which I think you said one time you weren't a big fan. You weren't a fan
I
of that,
wasn't
right?
a big fan of it, just because of the sheer amount of interest you pay. But they're scrapping the idea because I know a lot of people have asked about it. One thing, Dwayne, when you think about affordability, right? Most people move every 7 years or they refinance their house. Okay. So the one idea that I spoke with somebody about is that they said that, well, a 50-year may be not that bad because most people don't really stay in their house that long, and the first 7 years is mostly interest. Yes, that's true. And so technically your payment would be lower and you'd pay less interest over that period, right? But it doesn't affect everybody. Um, Overall, if you have extra money, you should be making extra payments and bringing down your principal balance as fast as possible. Some people, Dwayne, even go down as far as like trying to make 15-year payments so they can pay off their mortgages even faster. So I would say, like for 26, right? Focus should be like, hey, how do I budget? Do the things that you don't like to do, like actually review your expenses every month.
Yeah.
Um, so,
You know what, Dave? You mentioned something there earlier about people saving and stuff. I think people spend money on what they want to spend money on, and this is what I mean. They got a guy's trip or a girl's trip coming up.
mhm.
That's more important than saying, you know what? I'm about a year and a half out from that house. Let me save that 2000 and put it over here. Even in the last few years, something that I did, I've been looking into IULs, Index Universal Life Policy. Now I'm not trying to sell any products or anything like that. But just looking at it, because you hear people talk about how do you become your own bank, and some of the investments that I'm trying to do, offshore in other countries and stuff like that. But you think about, if you just sit down and think about 2025, what did I spend money on in assets, and what did I spend money on liabilities? And what are some of those liabilities I could do without? And you calculate that up, and you're thinking about, that could be your down payment if you need one. If you um thinking about, buying more of a home, and you may have to, come with some upfront money, there it is. And I tease people. Um, I was talking to a vet, somebody the other day, and they were teasing me, and they was like, "Man, I was talking about you the other day at a Christmas party." I'm like, what?" It was like, "Yeah, we were talking, and I think the question came up, like, do you know somebody that hasn't bought something that a lot of other people have bought?" And my friend was like, "Yeah, got a friend, Dwayne, that never owned a pair of Jordans. I've never purchased a pair of Jordans. Can't afford them. Now, I can afford them. I can go out and buy them. But for me, I'm like, man, I got severe flat feet. I need a wide shoe. It doesn't work for me. But even when it did, I just didn't, because I'm like, man, you're talking about $200 or $300 now. Nothing against Michael Jordan. I think he's one of the greatest to ever do it, right? But man, I can't put your great grandkids through college buying a new pair of Jordans or 2 or 3 Jordans every year. And you got people that are selling these, and they're filming it like on Instagram, and people
Yeah.
showing up, man, with $300 or $400 buying 2 or 3 pair of shoes. And I'm like, how you could be putting that in an asset somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way I'm thinking.
No, I think, and that's right. And budgeting, and that kind of leads me to the next part is credit too, right? Good budgeting leads to good credit.
Yeah.
And good credit gives you access to better financing, right?
Yeah.
Overall, better car loans. You're not paying 20%, you're getting a 3% loan.
Mm.
Mortgages, incentives on credit cards. You get zero interest. Like I've seen people, Dwayne, leverage like $80,000 worth of credit card debt because they can get zero interest for 24 months
Yeah.
to buy
Yeah.
properties and flip them and make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, and they don't have a lot. They just knew how to leverage what they had.
Well,
And it's all about leverage.
right. So what you're doing is you're taking that and you put it into an asset that eventually
Yep.
is going to give you a return, you know, opposed to going and buying 2 or 3 pair of Jordans, which is not going to give you a return. I see a question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what this question is, but somebody asked a question. I give you a hint. It's my business partner. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He asked a question, and I know it's going to I know it's going to trigger you. And you, when you see it, you'll get triggered.
I'm gonna look through these comments and I better not get mad here.
Well, not bad. You, well, when you see it, I'm not going to say what it is. I'll see. I'll see when we start going through. You
All right.
fixated on now. You're like, wait a minute.
No, I know, I know. I'm not gonna look through it, but we'll go through it. But yeah, asset is where you want to be. Because like, yeah, Dwayne,
Yeah.
look, think about it this way. Everybody out there, $600 a month car payment is $100,000 worth of purchasing power.
Oh,
$600 car payment, $100,000 asset. So even if people are like, well, the housing market, it's overinflated and values are going to crash. They've been saying that for a while. And at some point, right, the market's going to either slow down enough. Like it's inevitable. You can't have a good time all the time, right?
mm,
But think of it this way. If you bought a car, right, in the next 5 to 10 years you hold it, it's going to lose a significant amount of value, right? So even during not COVID, but during the housing crisis in 2008, even if you bought a home the day before the market crashed, you would have recovered well beyond that today, right? You still would have done extremely well.
mm,
So it's the long-term thinking that gets you to those end results, right?
right.
I just don't know how we would see a 30% reduction in housing. Like it could happen in theory, right? Like housing values could depreciate that much.
Yeah.
What impact would it have on people? The reality is it'd be actually pretty minimal because most homeowners have either a lot of people have their homes paid off, right? So for them, it just doesn't make a difference as far as like them being able to sell. Yes, they don't make as much money, but it could just be inflated money. It'd be affecting more of the people that have bought homes in the last couple of years. But do we really see that happening? No. Demand is still there, even though rates are where they are. People complain about them, but guess what? 400,000 veterans used the VA loan last year. 400,000 of them. Okay.
And why they didn't all call you?
I don't know why they don't call me. They get tricked by marketing because I see the companies that do the volume and I'm like, there's no way veterans are just falling for this stuff left and right. But it's okay.
Let me ask you this question, and if you can't speak on it, just let me know. I got a call yesterday, and a guy calling. I didn't even know where they were from. Normally, I don't, pick up the phone when there's no name. They were asking me, "Hey, we're calling you to give you an offer on your home." And I used to get these early part of last year, then they just stopped. And so I always say 2 million. And he was like, "Well, I got to ask you a few questions. 2 million. I don't care what you have to ask me. 2 million. Now, is my home worth 2 million? To me, it is. Not to the banks or an appraiser or anything like that. But have you heard of companies just random calling people asking them that? I don't know if you can speak to that or not.
Yeah, I can because I get those messages all the time.
Mm.
Because I got some land that are like, hey, sell us your land. And then I'm like, I want, just like you, I'm like, I want this much. They're like, wow, that's not what I'm like, that's not what the market is because you don't know the research. Yeah, so there's companies out there that will search public records. They'll see when you bought the home. They have AI tools that will help them say, hey, look, this is what the house would be worth. And so they're basically fishing for people to buy their homes normally at a discount, right? Because they want to turn around, flip it, and to be able to make some money. Sometimes they're big investors that are doing this. Now, currently there's a proposal for the president to limit large institutions from purchasing single family homes. Okay. Because essentially, if you think about it, these companies that, let's say they go into an area and they swoop up all these properties. And all of a sudden, if they decide that, oh, well, we don't want to be in this market anymore, what can they do? They could just dump the properties and it would crash the entire market. That's what happened during 2000, like the 2000s, right? What would happen is builders would sell a couple homes to some of their friends at higher values for cash, and it would set a higher appraised value. And now you have other buyers are coming in that can now get appraisals for higher priced values. In theory, this can be done today strategically. I'm
Yeah.
not saying like we're going to show you guys how to do this, but in theory, like you got a couple million, you can disrupt an entire market,
Man.
right? So, anyways, so that's what happened back then. Today's time, that really we don't really see that happening, but it could happen if it's like a trending hot market, right? But yeah, I do get those calls. It's a lot of times, Dwayne, they don't put their information on the. I get text messages, I get phone calls. They don't tell. I'm like, who are you? Like, what's your NMLS number? Like,
Right.
like what is this? But there are legit companies that do that. Like they go out and buy
Okay.
properties. So it could be worth exploring that option if you want to sell your home. Sometimes like you'll still like sometimes I don't know if you guys see them in Florida, but by us they still have like we'll buy your ugly home, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that exists, and that's for I think people that. By the way, this is why it's so important to address annual maintenance on all your appliances in your house. Buying a house isn't just I'm going to buy a house and then I'm not going to do any repairs. 50 years later, I'm going to sell it at the top of
Mhm.
the market. That's not how it works, right? You pay off your home, you get a HELOC, you refinance your home, and you pull more money to fix your house up, to
Right.
maintain the house or renovate the
Right.
house.
Yep. Yep.
Because it's sad. Like, I go up to West Virginia where my unit is, and there's a house there that's on the corner before I drive up to my unit. And when I first got there, it was a beautiful house. Today, you drive past it, the roof is caving in, the front porch, and I don't know their story, but it's just kind of sad that you kind of see that, right? And that's why it's so important to just kind of be on top of things and make sure that you can afford it. But yeah, let's roll into some of these questions. So we got a good
Yeah.
number.
All right. All
Welcome,
right.
Kid Zone. I like that. I'm always taking my kids to some kind of fun activity. It's been a minute since I've been able to attend a live event, but thank you for joining us. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. You got a lot of good evenings.
Mm-hmm.
Team, thank you. Always appreciate it. Blue Jay, I know him. Thanks for joining us today.
Does he know how to play the piano, or he's just
I
standing
don't
next to
know,
him?
but he looks very official. He's
Yeah.
wearing a tuxedo.
Yeah. Like,
So he's been going to the gym. He's doing good.
okay. All right.
A lot
All
of people.
right.
It's been a minute for me too. Good. See, a lot of people haven't
Yeah.
joined for a while. So thank you. Just made the last payment on my first mortgage. Is it true I can do a one-time restoration of full COE benefit? All right.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. Okay. But I don't want you to tell nobody. Right. You're watching this video. You guys listen in, but you start spreading things around. They're going to be like, even telling the truth out there. It's not going to be good for me. All right. So what he's referring to is kind of a strange thing. So if you have a VA loan and you pay off that VA loan, all your entire benefits are locked into that VA loan. Even if you refinance a current VA loan into a VA loan or a conventional loan, your benefits are still attached to that property. Okay, it's just how the VA works. So if you bought it for $500,000, you paid it off, you still have $500,000 of entitlement locked in. So what this person, I don't know if it's a gentleman or not, is referring to is that the VA has this thing called a once in a lifetime restoration of your benefits. And this is where a lot of older veterans are confused, where I can only use the VA loan once, right? That doesn't exist. In this case, if you pay off your home and you keep it in your name and you don't want to put it into a trust or transfer it to another entity, wink, wink, that's how you go around it. If you then you could just do a once in a lifetime restoration of your benefits. You say, VA, I used my VA loan. I want to keep this house, but I want to restore my full benefits. They'll do that for you once in a lifetime. They'll say, here's all your full benefits back. Go ahead and buy another house. Now you buy that second home. Now you can't use the VA loan for a third time until you sell both houses. So it's a thing I have never seen executed because of someone saying something and how to go around it, essentially. Because the VA just doesn't want you to have ownership in your name, right? So if you move it, then you're able to do it. So most people will just move it to like a LLC or something else. That's only if the house is paid off. Otherwise, you have to move a house into a trust. So just be aware of that. And in order to, and I'm not an attorney, that's another disclaimer, but I did this myself, so I'm familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are service connected and you put a house in a trust, you have to be the beneficiary of the trust to keep your exemption, but talk with your local county assessor's office. But good question, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you have more questions, you can always, by the way, reach out to me in the description below, and you can check out my channel, VA Housing Education. All right, truth is more important. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a chance, speak briefly or lack of using VA home loan in Costa Rica, sight unseen. So I'm not sure exactly what the question, but I'm assuming it's buying homes sight unseen. So like a lot of people buy homes virtually. Dwayne, didn't you do something like that? You bought some land somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did it
But
like
it's
that? Yeah, yeah. So
the
you
laws are
know,
different.
yeah, I think in every area, especially outside the United States, like Costa Rica, like Virgin Islands, some of the other places you can use the VA loan, it's definitely a little bit different and a little bit more difficult, and the fees are definitely more expensive in those
Mhm.
areas. I'll tell you that. We don't do loans in those areas because typically you work with somebody in that specific area. But if it's like in the United States, you guys can hit me up. I can help you out with that. But people buying homes remote all the time is really not a big deal from what I've seen. Uh, New year, new money. I hope and pray everyone is here is 100%, if not at least close to it. Well, I would say that, Dwayne, this is kind of like your department area, but this is what we're saying. If you haven't filed. And if you feel like you want to increase it, you know what? Let me touch on something. Dwayne, I get a lot of phone calls where people are scared to poke the bear. And I know you talk about it a lot. And people that have done it are like, I can't believe that I was scared for 15 years to do this. And it was such an easy process.
Hmm.
For some people, I'm sure it happens where they legitimately get downgraded.
Well, when I rated, I hear that, and I did a video on that, poking the bear.
You got a lot of videos.
People have to understand reductions, how they work. When you understand how they work and what raters have to abide by, then you're not scared to poke the bear or anything because you know what they're supposed to do or not do. You got people out here on YouTube saying, oh, yeah, if you're 100% P&T, you go in and file a claim for tinnitus, they're going to go back and look at everything. I never did that as a rater. There's no regulation that states that I have to do it as a rater. Now, I can get on YouTube and do a video and use it as clickbait and get 100,000 subscribers. I get the same question. I'm like, so what regulation states that they have to go back and look at everything? Certain instances, I did have to go back and look at something, but I didn't go back and look at everything. If I did, I would never meet my production quota. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. But I do tell people this, David. If you decide to do it, one, know what you're doing. Know the criteria for reductions and the time frame for reductions and what evidence needs to be present in those particular time frames. You nail that. You going in, you going in locked and cop. And another thing, Dave, real quick, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go get a lawyer.
Oh yeah, I know we talk about this a lot. Yeah,
you got a lawyer don't mean anything. Or go get somebody accredited. That don't mean anything. There's a lot of people that's accredited don't know what they're doing. It's on the job training for them. So if the person is teaching them, same way with the VA, you get some new VA employee and they're being trained by somebody that is not, taking the time to learn their craft. It's like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. Well, there's something similar like that on the VA home loan side with condo approvals where they may recommend that you get an attorney. And I'm thinking to myself, like, for what? Like, we literally do the process ourselves, right? So, yeah. So, like, that's why with VA condo approvals, a lot of veterans still struggle with it because the lenders don't know how to do it. They don't want to spend the time. And it's just like, if you don't learn it, like, if you don't master your craft of, like, from my side is lending, your side, VA disability. Yeah. How are you supposed to help other people?
Yeah.
This one is for you from your buddy. It's not hard when you listen to Dwayne Kimball.
All right.
Oh, wait. So you guys went out to the range?
No. He came on live, and we were looking at his avatar he had up, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, "Where you at?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm up in Jacksonville, Florida." So I was telling me and my business partner we had to pick a date and get up there. Then I had some questions about some of my equipment. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know." And I was like, "Man," and he sent me an email like, "I got to call you," but then it's like the clouds just open up and it's just got crazy busy. Yeah,
I gotcha. But if you ever guys go up there next year, we should definitely hit up the range and do that.
yeah.
That'd be fun. Do some training. All right. I was denied for tonight, but got the rest. The rest got me to 100%. That's awesome.
Yeah, congrats. Call David. You want to get that home?
Oh yeah. This is from the gentleman earlier. Yeah, however, I'm service connected at 0 since 2021 with tinnitus included.
They can't be right. Tinnitus is at least 10%. And a lot of veterans think 0% is a bad thing. It's not, because
Right.
you're like you just slid into you know how those baseball players, they slide into third base and they just pop right up. You got the 0%, right? So if it ever gets worse, there's a simple increase. Just make sure uh your you have to make sure that your evidence meets the next higher percentage criteria for that particular condition.
I have a question
Yes, sir.
for you. I'll
Oh,
skip the line since we're doing it together.
all right.
In that case, if you're 0% service connected, let's say for a heart condition,
Hmm.
and then you pass away from a heart attack, does that count as indemnity compensation for your spouse? Go.
Yeah. Yes,
Even
yeah,
at
yeah.
0%?
Yep. So I did I got a video on that.
No, no, I don't.
But I talk about DIC and the M21. I'm gonna have to pull it up when we get here. I'll make sure I pull it up. Where it talks about if you're service connected, um, has to be a certain year, and if you're, I want to make sure I get this right because I'm looking at the M21 in my head. I don't have it memorized. If you're not service connected, but you've been, I think, 100% for more than 10 years. But if you're service connected, it doesn't matter the amount of years. I would have to look. I'm gonna look that M21-1 up. But yeah, there's certain criteria for the DIC. And I get comments from spouses, and they're like, "Hey, my husband passed away. I want to know I can get my benefits." And I'm like, I lead them to that video because when I talk to these spouses, a lot of them, they're older, and I start asking questions: Are they service connected? What are they service connected for? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, vets, you need to get in this process, get it done. If you think you only want 50, 60, 70%, or whatever it is, get it. Make sure your family has that paperwork, right? They understand it, because once you're no longer here, you're no longer here. You can't explain it to them then.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it's somewhat. I mean, like I think it's tough to navigate VA benefits as it is, right? Like being a veteran, right? There's so many things, and then you like add in somebody that has zero clue about
Mhm.
like how that process and that world works.
But even still, Dave, his spouses, they don't have the DD 214. They don't have the annual benefit summary letter like we got in December. They send, the VA sends it to you in the mail saying, "Hey, your name, your social security number,
Yep.
your percentage, you get paid, married with the spouse too." They don't even have that. And one of my sponsors, he has a software where you can upload all these documents. And so I'm scanning mine, uploading them there. I'm put them on a thumb drive, put them in a my fireproof safe, and I got a printout of everything in a folder, right? So it's in 3 different spots. So if something happens to me, the only thing my wife has to do is get that paperwork and look through it.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. I actually got to put that on a thumb drive. I was just thinking I got one right now. Perfecto. Perfecto. All right, next question.
If y'all haven't already, please cover the add-ons, 100% over 60 convalescents, housebound aid and attendance, and add-on for survivors on. How much time do you got, Jane? How much? That's a lot. Jane is talking about, I'm assuming what she's talking about, the 100 over, I don't know if she means 100 over the age 60 or 100 plus disabilities totaling 60% or higher. That is SMC, special monthly compensation. Housebound. Convalescence, you're looking at paragraph 28 and 29, which is 38 CFR 3.28 and 38 CFR 3. No, 3.29 and 3. Jane is, man, pushing my old memory here. 38 CFR 3.30. One of those, if you're in the hospital and access more than 21 days, you get convalescence, like they'll bump you up to 100% for 2 or 3 months. You see that a lot with veterans with mental conditions when they check themselves into some type of treatment facility. The other one, if you have surgery like knee replacement. And it used to be a temporary 100% for like a year, and the VA changed it a couple of years ago. And I did a video explaining to people how to maximize your the months of convalescence pay that you get for a joint replacement. And what I would look for, what I was trained by the VA, okay, what to look for. So, looking at the operative report, the physical therapy, if the doctor says you have to be off work 3 months, if the doctor says after that you got 3 months of physical therapy, and if the doctor say, yeah, you can return to work, but with restriction, you still could be getting convalescent. So, if it's 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, now you're up to 9. And maybe the 1, 5, 8, 10-year rules for DIC. That's what we were talking about, Dave, when I mentioned the 10-year. I would have to go back out to the M21-1 to dig back into DIC. And a lot of people, I get these questions a lot. There's so much information. I don't have it all memorized. And
What?
even when
Wow.
some of the stuff you hear me rattle off is because I've rated those over and over again. But when I first started as a rater, the VA trained us not to memorize this stuff. Some of it you would because you work with it every day. They train raters to know where to go and find the information. That's key.
Is Don your business partner?
Yeah.
I'm already saw the question.
we were talking about that the other day. I couldn't remember the name of the
Why people
company.
trying to set me up like this? You trying to set me up.
I saw it. I know.
I already feel hot right now. That's fine. It's fine. Let's continue.
You turn red too.
It's like, all right, home loan under V loan with under V loan with current home. So you got a V loan on your current property. Looking to purchase a new home for a move to another city. Considering keeping existing home and converting to conventional unless better option is possible. All right, so this one's a little bit tricky because it comes down to your financial picture and how much money you need. So just because you have a VA loan, right, doesn't mean you can't have another one and you could put no money down, or you have some money, you could put money down and still use another VA home loan. I think the best thing to do in this case is to schedule a call with me in the description below, or check out my channel, VA Housing Education. All my videos have a link to schedule a call with me. And then we can walk through the option, because it may be that converting it to a conventional loan will make sense. I just don't know. That's one that I would definitely deflect and go through. Can I use a VA loan to buy a house with my daughter who is not a veteran? Another great question. So you can. It's called a joint home loan application. That's where a veteran and a non-veteran purchase a property together. The downside to that, just like a veteran and a veteran buying a home that are not married, or anytime you're not married, the other person has to put a 12.5% down payment. So it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do. Because if, let's say, we see this all the time too, Dwayne, parents are living with their kids, and then they will buy a home in their name and then put the house in a trust, put their kids on the trust. They live there for a while and then they end up moving out or doing whatever. Because if they live with them, they get to keep the property tax exemption on the property. Because if you have a property tax exempt person and a non-married co-borrower, then you have to pay 50% of the tax, even though you're 100% disabled, and that area allows for full tax exemption. So that is a caveat. I know, actually don't mention that a lot, but it's been coming up a lot more lately, where people are like, well, I did a conventional loan with my uncle, and then I still pay 50%. Now I'm going to refinance my loan into a V loan, remove my uncle, and I get the full exemption. Like there's just a lot of these kind of creative financing that people do to get themselves into home ownership early on, which I think is very positive. We'll even have veterans like and not veteran. Yeah, there's veterans that help their kids buy homes. Kids don't have a job, but they go to school full time. They put them on a mortgage, like a conventional loan. They put a down payment, and now their kids got credit. They own another home, and they can, get primary interest rates for their daughter, even though it's an investment for them. There's a lot of cool things you can do, but you just gotta know. You gotta have an idea of what that looks for you. Do you recommend refinancing for older veterans? That's a loaded question. Thank you for that. I mean, I helped some guy 78 buy a house. There's no, I mean, look, refinancing, the reality is there can be downsides, right? Like if you're 90 years old and you're redoing a 30-year mortgage, I'm saying you may not make it, right? To be 120 years old. I'm just saying you may not. Some people do it like if it really saves them money. Like I'm saying, like it's life changing for you, especially if you're on a fixed income. Okay. And other times people may need cash infusion. They may say, well, I need X amount of money because I have to do, renovations to my home because I'm older. And without this money, like I won't be able to continue to live at home. I have to live in a nursing home, let's say. That's why that decision is for you. Now, if you want to schedule a call with me, always happy to walk through options. And if you guys know me out there, there's no sales here. It's always, what do you want to do? Does it make sense? And then I'll make the recommendation and you figure out what you want to do. If you want to do a refinance, I'll help you. If you want to get a HELOC, we'll make a recommendation to somebody else. Or you stay in your current position. But like that will definitely depend on your current situation. And again, there's no cost to schedule a call with me. Now we're getting to Dwayne's friend. Dwayne's friend. Okay, I've talked to him. Not his answer. My mortgage is with Veterans United.
I know he's over there laughing.
All right. So to avoid a lawsuit, this is how I'm going to explain it. There are a lot of mortgage companies out there. Okay. And the way a business works, just in general, right, is that it depends on your operating costs. And that's how those costs get passed down to clients, right? So if I spend, and this goes for a lot of companies out there, and veterans get taken advantage of every single day. Last month, 60,000 people refinanced. I look at some of these refis, marginal savings, high closing costs. If you're getting spam calls, they have to pay for leads. They have to pay for callers to call you. Then they go to loan officers, then to a ton of processors. And same thing online. If you're being marketed to online, you go to a website and then all of a sudden it follows you everywhere you go. They spend crazy money for mortgage leads. If you use Google ads, any of that stuff. So I would say that if you want to spend, not I'm saying just Veterans United, I'm saying in general, working with companies that you're spending a ton of money, they're spending a ton of money on marketing, and you're calling call centers, you're definitely not going to have the experience that you want to, as far as like information, people not steering you into things that they want, not what you want, right? I'm a big believer of figuring out what you want to do, and we make that happen. And if you want to cancel a deal, no problem. Happy to cancel it. We just got to come up with a game plan on that sense. So you always schedule a call with me to help you with that. But I know that a lot of these companies as well charge pretty high origination fees and discount points. That's why, Dwayne, mortgage rates are so convoluted with how people advertise them. Like I was looking at big companies last night because I was like, what's happening with the mortgage rates? Like how are people advertising them? And I'm seeing 2 points plus origination fees for their published rates. Most people wouldn't even know how to look at that, right? So just just be aware of what's happening out there before you start uh, working with some of these companies.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at
Real,
that.
real quick, Dave. I don't know if I could share. I want to get back to James' question about DIC. I
Yeah.
just found it in the M21-1.
Can
Let me
you want to share it on the screen?
Yeah, real quick, real
Yeah, if you
quick.
put it into the thing, I'll be able to pull it up.
Okay. Do you see it?
Yep. There we go.
All right. So this is the M21-1, and when Jane was asking to cover DIC. So this is where I would go and look for criteria for DIC. So he says DIC is a monthly payment made to surviving spouse, child, or parent because of a service-connected death that occurred on after January 1st, 1957, or before January 1st, 1957, if the survivor elects to receive in lieu of death compensation. Okay. Now, right here's what she was talking about the tenure. To a surviving spouse or child because the veteran had been rated as totally disabled, which I thought 100% was they're talking about, due to a service connected disability prior to the death, typically for at least 10 years. Okay. And then they talk about if it was due to 1151. 1151, you went to the VA, you had surgery, and they screwed it up. Okay. So to a surviving spouse or child, parent of a service connected death that occurred, so they have guidelines. And so that's what you can take it down now, David. But that's why I was telling people you have to go to the VA regulation, especially something like this, and you won't know if that veteran that you were married to was service connected or not if you don't have those documents. Then you have to go and try to get those documents. You got to call the 800 number. They have to tell you how you get a copy of the claims folder. And that's going to take a while. But if you have this stuff now, then your spouse, understand this. And I had a client that was a Vietnam vet, and they added, he had diabetes and it's really bad. And he said he tried to get service connected for it. And I'm like, it doesn't fall under Agent Orange exposure, right? Because of where he served. He was within 10 nautical miles off the coast of Vietnam. Never had boots on ground, was in brown water, what never was in Thailand or the Philippines or Operation Ranch Hand, none of that. Then, Dave, they came out with what's called blue water. Now, he had filed a claim. He went and filed it, got denied. And we had a conversation. I said, let them deny you. You don't disqualify yourself, right? About 2 years later, I was in Myrtle Beach, bike week, motorcycle, checking my phone. He calls me. Hey, Dwayne, you hear about this new regulation, blue water? And I'm thinking to myself, well, really, I'm out of, Myrtle Beach and hanging out and doing some things, not really thinking about the VA. And so make a long story short, he qualified for blue water because when blue water came out, all the Navy vets, because people were complaining, Agent Orange just didn't get to the coast and just stopped. So they said you had to be 10 nautical miles within the coast of Vietnam, I think Cambodia or something like that. And so what he did was he was like, I was on this ship, and he Googled the ship. The range of the guns on the ship was 10 miles. That's how he proved he was within that 12 nautical mile window. Now, that claim that he was previously denied for diabetes made it easier because he had a diagnosis. He also, they had already confirmed he was considered a Vietnam vet, and he got service connected. And, so his wife, I talked to his wife numerous occasions. So we talked about DIC, and I showed them this M21-1. Hey, can you email it to us? And guess what they did? They printed it out and they put it in the folder because she was like, it could be another 10, 15 years. He lives, and I'm going to forget this stuff. I might forget it next month. And these are the things I'm talking about, especially with DIC. Make sure you understand the criteria. You have the documents in place. So when that time comes, you're grieving and you think, you got 100 other things on your plate and dealing with the VA, you do not want that on your plate trying to get benefits.
Awesome. We'll kind of roll through it because we'll be running out of time.
Yep.
I didn't catch it.
I think he's talking about if I'm not mistaken, the VFW. Are you talking about the VFW that Colonel Dan or Lieutenant Colonel Dan?
I'm not sure. I know that there was a couple big things happening right now with what did it happen? The VA the House committee decided to delay hiking up VA loan fees. So that was good. I know that happened. And then there was a pretty big proposal for I'm gonna do a video on it, HR 7009 to amend Title 32 orders to expand eligibility for home loans for National Guard members and reserve members. So that's pretty big news that's coming out of there. Next one is not for me. Any more news on carrying your interest rate to the next loan? Not yet, but I know we talked about the 50-year mortgage. They've kind of tabled that for right now. NCFL will vote to lower insane property taxes this fall. Not familiar with it, but that's why it's important. Like Florida's one of those you got to be 100% PNT to get the exemption. So
I've heard of that. I haven't delved into it.
Yeah, we'll see. I get those home buying calls and postcards. Yep, that's why it's so important to. From Milwaukee, yeah, we're neighbors. Yeah, real cold lately, especially. Let me see this one. I'm newly retired and unemployed. Doing lenders count VA compensation as income? Yes, that's the thing, guys. And I have a couple videos on that. One of them is like an hour long. You would have to watch the whole thing because it's like the ultimate guide. And most people are like, please make shorter videos. I'm like, a shorter video on that. I'm like, I do have shorter videos on it. But if you want to get the whole thing, right, in one shot, 1 hour, I promise you, you're going to walk away very well educated. So check out the channel, VA Housing Education. But yeah, so you can use just your VA disability to buy a home. A lot of people do it. I mean, I qualified someone on up to 1.3 million just on VA disability because they're buying a multi-family property and they had the reserves. So it was pretty crazy. This question.
With VA being targeted on disability and ratings, what are the repercussions to help veterans and adjust to payments due to rate adjustments? I think now it's just a lot of talk. I think it was last year. I think the VFW and some other service organizations testified before the VA, and other people out there on YouTube with large platforms are talking about the fraud, within VA claims. But where isn't there fraud? It's everywhere. I don't condone the fraud in the VA compensation claims process, but I do understand it. From this standpoint, there are veterans out there. I just answered a question earlier today, right before I got on. Veterans like, hey, I have chronic arthritis in my knees. I filed a claim as a 1-year presumptive, and I got denied. And I'm like, well, chronic arthritis is a 1-year presumptive under 38 CFR 3.309 subpart A. But if you had a CMP exam, you got to look at that, So again, that's where knowing this, the regulations comes in handy. But again, and people get fed up and, start taking shortcuts, which I don't recommend, because eventually it's going to land on somebody's desk that is an advocate for veterans. When I say advocate, someone that follows the regulations.
100%. Good. So yeah, you can put your house in a trust, but talk with an estate attorney to figure out exactly how you can do it. Good question. I'm 100% PNT. I would like to save my back pay for a home. What's the best plan moving forward? So that is a kind of loaded question because it's going to depend on your financial picture, right? I would say schedule a call with me because we got to definitely see like where you're at. I think that's a great plan. And Dwayne, a lot of people will hit me up the day they get their VA disability. They're like, David, I did it, or I got my 100%, or whatever rating you got. Like, this is extra income for me. Like, I feel like I'm in a good financial piece. Hey, I got
Yeah.
this back pay. I used a part of it to pay down my bills. I got no bills. What's going to be the plan? But it's going to depend on where you're at in life because everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different, right? We may look at it and go, well, you know what? Let's wait a year because some people sometimes will do that, right? Be like, hey, we're not where we need to be at financially. Let's put a pause on it, or let's take a look at credit and let's fix credit to get you in the best position possible. Again, a huge fan of using the VA loan, but like this does require a little bit of getting together and going through it. This is for you.
If I claim hand condition in 2005, they input it as foot condition and legacy system rating decision says hand condition, not service connected. Is that a C? You would have to go back and look at. I have a couple of videos on what constitutes or what rises to the level of CUE. All the evidence would have to be looked at from 2005. But my question is, Robert, why didn't you catch that back then? You talking about 20 years. You know, when you get when they get these rating decisions and notification letters, you gotta be Ricky Tick, most Ricky Tick and Johnny on the spot with it. You gotta read those things, you gotta understand it, start asking questions and do something, take some action. Then if there's a mistake, don't wait to 20 years later because that makes it that much harder.
This was for you. No
I
dumb
knew
questions
that.
around here.
Yep. Love what you guys do. Thank you for the support. This may be a dumb question, but it is worth putting on the campaign for PTSD. If I'm already rated for anxiety and depression 70%, sorry for the dumb question. What is the question? Did I miss it?
No, you just said like should he file for PTSD if he's already
Oh, I
rated
missed
for
that.
anxiety and
Yeah.
depression?
No, that's pyramiding. That'd be
Yeah,
pyramiding.
unless you can go higher for. I'm not sure how that works. Can you
No,
go
it just
higher?
be you could the next highest criteria for Service Connect for anxiety and depression is 100%. A lot of veterans will put in PTSD because they go to VA medical center and they say, "Oh yeah, I got diagnosed with PTSD." You about to open up a whole can of whoop, you know what? Okay,
Mm,
but what should happen when I got those ratings, David, I was just submitted for an increase, and then it will come back, confirm they continued at 70%. Anxiety and depression now also claimed as PTSD, or grant the increase for anxiety and depression, and in parentheses, also claimed as PTSD.
that's awesome. Like Don asking, gets income via income leverage tax rules, so he doesn't have to pay money on taxes. Please help me. But what I'll tell you guys is that what you have to be really careful of, especially as we come up for the tax season, and I will do a special live event on this. Hopefully, I can get a CPA to do it with me. A lot of veterans that are self-employed disqualify themselves from VA home loans because they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I make 150 grand a year," and then I get their tax returns, and then I'm like, "You make 20 grand a year." Like, well, yeah, there's expenses, and I'm trying to leverage like a lot of taxes breaks and stuff. Those tax breaks work against you because lenders on a normal VA loan, I mean VA loans in general, are going to look at the bottom line of how much you take home, right?
Yep.
Not taking out the standard deduction, but before the standard deduction. So you have to be really careful with that when it comes to that.
That's
Um,
something that I used Augusta rule, and it's a large payout along with the accountable plan. You can add those two. If you're self-employed, depending on where you live, you can rent your home office to your business 14 days out of the year. So that could be anywhere from, obviously, if you're in New York, DC, Chicago, LA, that could possibly be up to anywhere between 35 and 50K a year. So at
wow.
the end of the year, you can write yourself a check for that and it's tax free. So then you can take that money. If they say, well, hey, you don't only make this much, you got to put 15 down. If you got 50K sitting there, you're like, all right, I'm coming in here with a bunch of ones. Count it out.
That's funny. All right, next one. Please explain the difference in the VA loan process for building your home on your own land versus buying an existing home. I would like to build on my own land. So this is a good question. So the
How much
VA
time
loan,
we got?
yeah, well, we got like we're gonna cut just a little after this question, just because I got stuff with the kiddos, and I'm gonna be traveling here pretty soon. So, all right, so the main difference is that one, I did a video on buying land as a savings account. Huge fan of that, right? Because at some point, land they're not making more land unless we invade other countries. So currently, right, you'd buy land, hold on to that land, and one day build on it. But there's a big difference on how you get a loan for this, okay? Because one, VA construction loans are very different than buying a house. Buying an existing home is pretty straightforward, right? You look at the house, you like the house, you go under contract, you get an appraisal, you go through underwriting, and boom, 21, 25 days later, voila, you own a house. A construction process is different. Now, buying land and building a house is pretty much the same as if you already own the land and you want to do a construction loan. They're the same process, right? You primarily, because the only part you omit is finding the land, right? And when you own your own land, you have more time to come up with blueprints, plans, and because you have to hire someone to do all that stuff, because you need that in order to even submit to get a like an estimate for a home. And then you have to find a contractor. So that process could take a little bit longer, and they have to submit the correct bids. One thing that I am unsure of is that because I don't know of a single lender that will do a self-build construction loan for VA loans, meaning like, hey, I want to build my own house and hire GC contractors. Those do exist for non-VA loans. So that does exist. Like that's why if you have a lot of equity in your property, honestly, Dwayne, as much as I love the VA home loan, I may not use it. Because I mean, I had the opportunity just recently, and I was like, I'm not going to use the VA loan. Like that's ridiculous for me to do that. Because I have enough equity in the land to just do a construction loan with a self-build option. Right. So why wouldn't I do that? And I think sometimes people are taken back when I tell them, like, don't use your VA loan for this construction piece. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of benefits of not using the loan for that. I won't go into it too much, but I have a whole video on that. We'll wrap up there. I know you guys had a lot of questions. Just been Ginger for being a member. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
If you guys have questions, please schedule a call with me in the description. Check out my channel, VA Housing Education. If you're not subscribed to Dwayne's channel, check his channel out because I came across Dwayne when I was doing my own VA disability stuff. Like I heard about him on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, what's up, Dwayne? I'm like, remember that? Like I was like, like, I see him on YouTube all the time. I'm watching his stuff because I don't know it, right? Like, and even going, through the process, it's still confusing to me. And this is why I got Dwayne for him. When Dwayne's got questions about home loans, he hits me up, and I'm like, let me look at it, and then we'll go through it. Like a couple months ago, so. Always happy to help you guys out. There's no cost for you to call me or set up a call. But I do ask that you set up a call, not just call me and text me randomly because you will not get a response most likely.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. And it's just a time and respect thing because it's very easy to schedule a call and go through it. That way, 100% we got time to go over stuff. But we'll definitely do some upcoming live events. We're going to switch up the format. We're going to start doing the live events during the daytime, like so on your lunch breaks and stuff like that. So appreciate everyone joining us tonight. Any last words, Dwayne?
No, just if you're pursuing VA home loan or refi or compensation, don't wait till the last minute. Start asking questions now. Start asking questions. Do your due diligence. We talked about the DIC thing. Make sure you get your spouse or your kids involved on what's going on, especially on the VA side. So at that unfortunate time or passing, they got those documents and they're not struggling trying to understand this and that, and they got what they need.
100%. I appreciate it. You guys have a great night, and we'll get you guys out.